Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here on Thursday night. I'm talking with Dave, and we're going to be chopping it up in terms of what's been going on with Chelsea. We've got the fixture coming up very soon where Arsenal will be travelling to Stamford Bridge, a place that has been not too frugal for us of recent years. I remember a time when it was a regular three-pointer for us, but I'm showing my age. Anyway, we'll start off with how are you, Dave? How you been?
Oh, good, good. Just it's you know what times are ticking, aren't they? Work is gone mad, so I haven't been able to get onto the Premier League forum like I would like to. But it is what it is. Now we've got an opportunity to have this chat and to catch up on quite a lot, haven't we? So
Absolutely.
that's good.
Excellent, excellent. So let's start off. We obviously had the summer break, and then right at the very end, Chelsea were thrown into turmoil. I mean, it's actually not at the end. It started off at the beginning because the war in Russia effectively um, started a load of sanctions against Russian individuals, of which Roman Abramovich was one of the most prominent. And there was this huge set of sanctions against him by the Premier League, and effectively he was forced out of the club, had to sell the club, and that
Mm.
set off a chain of events. So we saw the transition, which was very painful. I would say
Yeah.
because it was an elongated transition, but it ended up being that we saw the transition from Abramovich to Todd Bowley. Talk to us about how that was for you as a fan, seeing that happen, what you thought about the whole thing.
I think there's no secret in terms of with Roman what he done for Chelsea. He come in and invested money that every single club. Let's have it right. He's been the best football owner in the history of the game, in my opinion. To take a club to continue to invest, to continue to lose money on within our club, to try and better the club, to try and better its standings in Europe and in the Premier League, and to constantly want to achieve greatness. That is someone that this club is gonna miss dearly. Obviously, things happened in relation towards Russia, and he's a very prominent member of obviously um, being a right hand man to Putin. So after to show up, everyone's backing towards Ukraine. Obviously, it was only right. In my opinion, as gutting as that is for every Chelsea fan, it was the right call. It was the right decision to kind of freeze any type of assets that he had. Obviously, during that time period, it was difficult. It was difficult to be a Chelsea fan. You have people bantering us saying, you could drop down leagues. I had one friend who said, this is really going to mess Chelsea up in terms of in the future, and it still might. We don't know. Well, we've just spent a load of money. We don't know if this is if Chelsea Football Club are going to be running the same model as what we have done historically. So there's still questions there. What do we know is that yes, Todd Bowley is part of an American investment firm that has bought Chelsea. The key word there is investment firm. When you buy something and you invest in it, you want a return on investment. With any business, with anything. And at the end of the day, you've seen obviously it's a great table put up on here. He's gonna want a return on Chelsea Football Club at some point. In my mind, that is what is kind of in my head. This is great. Whether you want to keep investing for 1 year or 2 years, quite and tie down players to 7-year contracts. I look at it and I think to myself, how long is that going to last? With Roman, it was there every season. The investment was there every single season. So, are there still questions over Todd Bowley? Yeah, of course. There's questions over what does he want for Chelsea Football Club? Does he want the success that someone like Roman showed that he wanted it through the transfer dealings, with the just how Chelsea was run as a football club, not just not taking negligence, or not taking underperformance in, and going, right, we're striving for greatness here. If you're not good enough, out. That's it. Whether it was managers, whether it was staff, everything. So I think the thing with Todd is, I think people are thinking, oh, it's the same, and obviously we'll cover the management situation. I think there a lot of fans and a lot of people outside of the club will look at the Tuchel and Potter situation and go, right, he's going to run it in the same way. I'm not sure. I think that in the whole statement, when Tuchel was sacked, the key word there was, when reading their statement, was, we've it's been 100 days since our takeover. I remember reading the statement, and that's the key thing that stood out to me, which is, okay, in change management in any business, you want to imprint your vision onto a business, or in this case a football club, and that was it for me. So, to kind of long-winded, but to answer your question in terms of what was it like, it feels good now, because it could have been a lot worse for Chelsea. But ultimately, it looks like we're in a good position, but we don't know what the future holds, because we don't really know what Todd Bowley's intentions are.
Okay. What do you feel the fan base are thinking right now in terms of how that has happened? I mean, you've given your own personal opinion. Is the fan base, based on what you speak to other Chelsea fans, are they quite buoyant about the way things have gone?
I think people are relieved, is what I would say, because, like I said, it could have been a lot worse. And from the transfers and the money that was thrown in this transfer window, I think people are relieved that it's not going to be, and it's going to, a similar situation to Arsenal, when obviously the Kroenkes took over, and that there wasn't that investment there, and that it took miracle upon miracle sometimes for you guys to get into Champions League. And I think we feared the worst. And I know it's one transfer window, but I think, speaking to a lot of my friends, I think they feel a little bit of comfort that actually this could go into the same direction as Roman, which is the dream. It really is. It's if I said, take Roman being Russian out of the equation, an owner of his profile, every single club would want an owner like Roman Abramovich, and the fan base realizes that. And still, he still gets chants at Stamford Bridge. People still chant his name, because they realize what this guy has done for the club. So I think, for me, and for the fan base mostly, it's a case of acceptance that it may not be like how it was, but we're hoping to stay as competitive as we possibly can.
That's good. That's good.
What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are that,
coming from obviously the other side of things, coming from the fact that all eyes were on Chelsea.
Yeah,
I feel like for quite a long and sustained period. From the opposite side, when you saw all of this go down, Roman's gone, Roman's going, he has to sell, and Bowley comes in, and the transfer activity. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for Chelsea fans is my first thought, because as you alluded to, has there ever been an owner so intent on ensuring that his club are given everything they need to succeed? And as much as you could complain and say, well, you keep chopping managers and you buy this and you lose that, everything worked out because you were consistently competing at the top table. You were in amongst teams challenging for the Premier League. You were in amongst teams challenging for the Champions League. Your success as a club has all been in the Roman Abramovich era.
Yeah.
So from my perspective as an outsider looking in, it seemed to be the end of an era which signaled potential danger for you as a club, especially when you consider that you were hearing the mumblings about, well, this player wants out, that player wants out. Rudiger for me was instrumental in terms of that storyline. It was like, oh my God, Chelsea without Rudiger, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was definitely a situation where I considered it to be a really hazardous time for you as a club. In some ways, you're looking and thinking, well, it could be the end of Chelsea as a force, which only suits Arsenal. But at the same time, you're like, well, the Premier League has benefited from having Chelsea being successful. So if Chelsea drop out of that, will the Premier League be as successful? So yeah, I kind of felt a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of trepidation about what was going to happen. But having seen it now develop to the point where we are now, and seeing that actually things haven't totally crumbled around Chelsea, and you are still a force, both in terms of being able to select good manager to take over the reins when you decided to part with Tuchel, being able to be extremely active in the transfer window the way you were towards the end after so much, not knowing what was going to happen. And then for you to totally blast out the transfer window the way you did, it just says to me, well, business as usual at Chelsea.
Yeah, I think that's the impression a lot get. I am still, and I think that's, like I said, for the fan base, and I think a lot of fans outside of Chelsea, people go, business as usual. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. I think they'll invest quite heavily for maybe this transfer window, maybe the next in the summer transfer window, and then I think they'll really pull back the purse strings. And I think there's a reason that they're trying to bring players onto 7-year contracts. In my opinion, there's a reason that they're trying to they've tied Reece down. I think he's got a really long contract now, Reece James, for like I said, for maybe like 7 years or something. And I think they're trying to do the same with Mason Mount. There's a reason that we're trying to go after and cement these young players now on long-term deals. It almost feels like a kind of an American model when you see an NBA or NFL, when it's like, right, let's get a load of draft picks, let's get the best young players, tie them down to long contracts, and then we've got a dynasty there, hopefully, if they all turn out. I almost feel like that's what they're trying to do a little bit, but I don't know if that works in football.
Yeah. So the ownership situation gets sorted, and as we've alluded to, we start then hearing the rumours about players wanting out. Christensen, Rudiger is pretty much signed a pre-deal with Real Madrid, and you start beginning to think, oh my gosh, is it going to be? I even heard that Azpilicueta wanted out.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen at Chelsea? And then out of the blue, they start doing their business, and then boom, we see this.
I think you got to think from where we was to then see the investment is great, but we lost some huge players. So I think maybe let's talk about the outgoings maybe first, because I think
Okay.
they were the ones that I look at and I go, he lost a lot. And I think before we come on stream, we were talking and we were going, that is a lot of players to lose.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. It's. I don't think people actually look at the names. So I mean, when you think about it, Lukaku, I think was doomed when he done the interview with Sky Italia, and was trying to endear himself back to the fans. It didn't sit right with a lot of people. I think it showed his immaturity as a player, to kind of almost a little bit like it's like dumping your girlfriend and then trying to go back to her a little bit and going, no, but I still like you, I still love you. Like, it was, Inter fans didn't want him.
Yeah.
I still don't think they want him. I mean, I'm seeing Edin Dzeko do absolute bits for Inter Milan. They're probably thinking we're better off without you. I've heard Inter coaches don't like the shape that he's in either. So now he's going to be stuck between a rock and a hard place soon, because he's getting the money, of course, but does anybody really want him? So I think that's for me. He if he worked out. If he worked out, obviously, we paid big money for him. It would have been brilliant. I thought, as most Chelsea fans did, I thought the story arc of him coming back, unfinished business. He put, obviously, when he signed, he put when he was a school kid and he had the Stamford Bridge trip, and he went, "I'm going to play here one day," and you just thought, it fits. This is brilliant. We're gonna have someone who cares, and then for him to be such a mercenary, I would call it, I think just showed really. He didn't. Yeah, I think part of his the down spiral with him was he thought he was the man coming into a Chelsea team. I can imagine he thought, I'm the man that's going to lead this club forward. But we just won the Champions League when he come in. And I think he almost forgot that a little bit. We were the Champions League winners and holders when he come in. And I think it rubbed a lot of players the wrong way, from what I've heard. It rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way from the communications as well. So he was doomed after the interview. That was the nail in the coffin. So for him, he was always going, regardless. I feel like he was always going to go. Then you get to the players that did go because of, I think, the turmoil in the sun, before Bowley took over, and it was agreed. One that I'm not really, I'm not going to lose sleep over is Christensen. He, during big games, he used to have stomach problems. And he wouldn't be named in squad sometimes if the game was too big for him. I've never heard that in my life until he was there, like feeling sick before games, and he wouldn't want to be in the squads. And I think there's with him, it was just a bit like that whole kind of, oh yeah, he's a good footballer, but has he got the grit of a centre half? Someone who's going to rush in, make the last ditch tackles. And there were shades of that, but just I don't think a lot of Chelsea fans will, like I said, lose sleep over him. The one that we did lose sleep over was Rudiger. He's the one that we And in his statement, apparently we're going to offer him what we wanted, and it wasn't because of the change in ownership that he decided to leave. But I think that definitely played a catalyst in his decision. You know, to leave the club. I think anyone outside of Chelsea and everyone in Chelsea can see how much of a force he was as a centre half. How much of a leader, how much he could drive our team on. You know, sometimes you'd watch Chelsea and you'd go, "This is really flat," and out of nowhere, Rudiger would just go on this run up the pitch. Just think, you know what, I've got to will my team on, and he'll just sprint and try and take people on, and have a 45-yard, 35-yard shot. You know, just a pot shot, and just him sprinting into space, having shots would get people up for it again. And the aggression behind him as a defender, that's something that we miss even, you know, right now, and it's a void that hasn't been filled with the incoming players. So yeah, I can imagine you was happy when Rudiger left.
Well, being a part-time Real Madrid fan, I was extremely pleased. You know, he's going to my Spanish team of choice, and Chelsea lose their number one defensive centre back. So, yeah, very, very happy with that when I heard the news.
I just think he was. I think Chelsea fans know how good he was. I think the whole Premier League know how good he was. There was a time where he wasn't good at Chelsea as well. Under Frank, I think there was just a bit of, I don't know what it was, but we tried playing a back two, and it just didn't suit him for whatever reason. But as soon as we went to a back three, he was solid, and that was it. You know, the back three system worked for him, and yeah, he's fantastic. But yeah, like it's a miss again, and I think for him, there are two clubs, unfortunately, that I think every player in the world goes, wow, yes, please, I'll have a bit of that. And it's Madrid and Barca. You know, the fact that Barca could get all the players that they could get, you know, obviously including Christensen, including, you know, Alonso, who was obviously lobbying for a move there for quite a while. I think with Alonso as well, I don't think Chelsea fans really appreciate how good he was as well. I think he's going to be one of those underrated players that we look back on in the future and go, he was a great servant. He was a very good servant. But and I think I when we lost him, it was a kind of, it was his time to leave, but at the same time, he would have still served the purpose if we didn't have Cucurella, if that makes sense. An attacking left wing back who just was like, I want to get forward, I want to cross, I want to score goals, I want to create opportunities, and his size for a wing back and the energy that he had game in, game out, especially when Chilwell got injured last season, was crucial for us. So I don't think he'll get the plaudits that he really and truly deserves at Chelsea. He'll be one of those he's an unsung hero for me, and I know there's some of the Chelsea fan base that go, oh, he's not good, but I look at moments like his free kicks against Tottenham, and golden moments, you know, a goal against United as well, and I think we're missing. You know,
so let's quickly go through the other ones that you lost. Alonso, Hudson-Odoi on loan, and Timo Werner.
I think to touch on Hudson-Odoi, I think he got. We was going to think of him as a high prospect, and unfortunately, he hasn't fulfilled that potential. And I personally think his time is up at Chelsea. I think not in terms of that he's not a good enough player. I think he needs a new challenge, a new adventure, go somewhere else. I thought he'd be going Newcastle personally, and I still think that's a possibility for him to go Newcastle, especially when they've got the money with their aspirations to get a young player like Hudson-Odoi.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a no-brainer for them. Although if you've got Almiron at the time of recording, who's pulling out wonders after being mugged off by Jack Grealish, then all right, maybe you don't need Hudson-Odoi. But yeah, so I think he needs a new start. And again, at the time of recording, he scored a goal in the Champions League for Leverkusen. Was it last night against Atletico? So maybe pasture's new for him. Werner's a weird one, and this is it's bittersweet. So because I think he's one of those that Chelsea fans love. I think because there's similarities between the Lukaku and Werner dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Both underperformed quite clearly. Both underperformed as strikers for Chelsea in terms of the expectation and what they could do. But they went about it two different ways. Lukaku threw his dummy out the pram. Werner continued to go, no, I'm going to continue working hard. And that's one that even on his lowest of days, even when it weren't going right for him, you still see him sprinting to chase down fullbacks, to chase down centre halves, and that effort is appreciated. And at the end, and he helped us win a Champions League. His efforts can't be belittled. He really was a strong reason why we got into the way into the final and ultimately that winning goal from Kai Havertz. It's his run that drew. I can't remember who's playing right back now. Walker, I think it was, that drew Kyle Walker, probably the only person who could have caught Kai Havertz at that time. For Chelsea to go in the Champions League. Until we got Aubameyang, it was a silly sell as well, because we didn't have a backup striker either. So I think if we didn't get Aubameyang, it would have been a signing that we would have looked back on and gone, "What are we doing? It's really stupid. We need, we've just sold a striker." So that's kind of it, I think, in terms of the outgoings. But it's bittersweet. There's some players, and it's almost an end of an era for some of those players. End of a project, and it's some of them I'll be glad to see the back of. Mm-hmm. But I think Werner and Rudiger are the ones that hurt.
So out went those players, and in started this whole new raft of players. And the first of those, to me, was Raheem Sterling. Yeah. And I've got to be honest with you, I absolutely love Raheem because he's a local lad from Brent, where I grew up. He's a very community-orientated kid. He's done a lot for my old borough, which was Brent. I always just admired him at Man City and thought to myself, if we could get him at Arsenal, it would be fantastic. North London boy. And then Chelsea get him, and I'm absolutely livid. I'm like, oh no. I'm as much as I say, I felt a little bit worried about Chelsea. The minute you picked up Raheem Sterling, I'm like, oh no. The rebuild has started off with one of the best pieces in English football.
Yeah, and he's an underappreciated player in English football. Very underappreciated. I think he was a good piece of business because at the time when he signed, because the way that we was playing with our 3-5-2, or if you want to call it our kind of, us having two out-and-out wingers and having Havertz as a false nine, which is, it looked like that's the way that we were going to go. We was getting production from Mason Mount, who's kind of going towards that right hand side and playing as a right winger for some, that's how Tuchel liked it. And if Havertz was playing as a false nine or as a nine, we needed a goal scoring winger. And Sterling fit the bill. And I thought perfect recruitment. That is, it showed that we knew what we was doing with that signing. That yes, he's perfect. And also there's bringing that experience to the changing room as well. I know we've won the Champions League, and I know some of the lads were in that squad, but bringing you've obviously reaped the rewards from Zinchenko and Jesus, but bringing that just winning mentality into a
Yeah,
squad, into a team, it's an underrated asset. Just somebody who's going to come in who's won it, who's done it all. Not someone who's still, who thinks they've won it all. Sterling has.
yeah.
So
He's had a blinding summer with England.
Yeah.
He's easily England's best player at the moment based on, goals scored, contribution in games. And you snap him up and I'm like, flipping hell. It's gonna be all good. It's all gonna be good. And then I think the next one was Koulibaly. I'm not sure if Sterling came before Koulibaly or the vice versa.
I think it was Sterling then Koulibaly, and I think with Koulibaly it was for somebody who was talked about as one of Europe's elite defenders. It looked like a good bit of business, and it looked like a very like for like in terms of from a Rudiger perspective. Somebody who's quick, physical, who can be an aggressive defender. So at the time, getting him, I thought was good business, and to get him for 35 million, I think we paid, was
unbelievable.
Again, shrewd, and this is where you thought
hopefully Dave will get his connection back. But yeah, I mean, just looking at the business that Chelsea did this summer, I mean, weirdly, this graphic that I've picked up doesn't. Oh yeah, it does have Raheem Sterling, 51 million, Koulibaly, 34 million, and you kind of think, well, you've addressed the top of the pitch with an absolute dynamic player. You've addressed the back four with a really solid centre back to accompany. What's his name? The Brazilian, whose name escapes me for some crazy reason now. But yeah, he comes in, and you just think, right, there's a fantastic addition to the squad. Where else will they go? But obviously, as we've alluded to in our conversation so far, you've lost Rudiger, you've lost Werner, Christensen, Alonso. They're four big elements in the team, and then he starts picking up other pieces, and he brings in Cucurella, and that was a bit of a shock. And then he brings in the kid Chukwuemeka, and you're thinking, some talented youngsters into the team. So we start thinking at that point, Chelsea are definitely on the comeback trail, and they're just a striker away from, finishing a window. And literally lastminute.com, we start hearing the rumours about Aubameyang. But that last week of the window, Dave, was just crazy for you guys in terms of like what was going on, because Fofana and Aubameyang, if I'm not mistaken, they came in, both of them, in the last week, right?
Yeah, correct. I think this is the thing. After getting Koulibaly and Sterling, then it kind of went a little bit. I think Neville said it the best, which was, it was like playing Football Manager. It was like looking at players, who's available, who can we get?
Mm.
and then it was all of our targets just kept going to Barca for some reason. You know, you know, we were linked with Lewandowski, Barca, Rafinha, Barca. I think we had even had a bid accepted for him. We had Koundé, long-standing kind of player that we were linked with. It looked destined.
Yeah.
Barca. It did. You know, you kind of thinking to yourself, are they going to stop going for our players? Like, but you know, we were looking at alternatives. And I think we kind of
The
panicked.
Frankie de Jong saga.
The Frankie de Jong scenario was a weird one as well. It's like you're playing for a club that doesn't even pay you. Like, you're playing for free.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, you know, it just didn't seem they owed him like a ton of money as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's your opportunity to get out and you know. But I think to Frankie's kind of fault, and even to, like, obviously Martin Braithwaite, who stayed there, I think they're owed money, and I think they've gone, no, we ain't going until you pay us.
Yeah.
So instead of going, oh, I could get a nice pay packet at Chelsea, I think they're like, hold on a minute, I'm owed a bit of money here. Like,
Yeah.
let me be a debt collector here, collect my money, and then I'll ship off. So yeah, I think that's obviously for them, for maybe that might be the reason, but it seemed ludicrous to me they wouldn't come Chelsea. But yeah, to kind of go on the other transfers, it was mad to think about it. We lose Alonso, so we get linked with Cucurella, and it's just like, I think there's nothing wrong getting linked with him, and in fact he's turning out to be a starter for Chelsea week in, week out.
Yeah.
But price tag was the one that I think everyone was a bit like, what is that? Like 60 million? You're like, for a wing back.
And I kind of think that there was a story that Brighton wanted 50 and Chelsea offered 60. And it was like, hang on a second, you paid them more than they actually wanted.
It didn't make any sense. I mean, he's a player, glad to have him. Good player, looks technically gifted. Looked like he was going to provide not just competition for Chilwell. Bearing in mind, Chilwell was a player coming back off an injury as well, but also could chip in centre off. And I think that's, I think it wasn't, in hindsight, we're going to look at the price tag, obviously, but it's not a bad signing for us. And then, just the other players to follow. You've got Aubameyang, which was a very weird one. I mean, Aubameyang, I think it was a Tuchel influence signing to go, I need another striker. Who can we get? And I need a proven striker. I've worked with Aubameyang in the past. I know what the perception is with him after the Arsenal all or nothing doc, maybe after the fact that you got better with, by selling him and not even just getting rid of him, just go and pack your bags, get out of here.
Yeah.
But I mean, touch wood, at the moment he's not been too bad, and I think but yeah, it seems like it was a Tuchel based decision. With him.
Let's quickly jump into this guy, because my early feelings are this is the deal of the summer, because this kid is phenomenal for me.
I like him. When he is at Leicester and playing week in, week out, I liked him. The difference is we've gone after a guy that's just come off of a massive injury. I think it was an ACL, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Can he replicate his form at Chelsea from the heights that he was playing at Leicester? That is the big question with Fofana. If he can, massive asset. He's got massive upside, and I think he'll be be a great player for Chelsea. It's just, coming back from that injury, and even now it's he's not favoured at Chelsea in the centre. As at the time of recording this, you know, both of the centre halves that we've bought aren't playing regularly, and the wing back we've bought is playing centre half. So it's not. You know, in time, I'm hoping that Fofana will come good. I'm hoping Koulibaly, and I think Koulibaly's for what we've heard and for what a lot of people have heard hasn't been the player that we thought we were going to get. This elite defender from Napoli, who you're always synonymous when there's a defender from Italy, you're synonymous with. Well, they must be a good defender if they come from Italy. That's what it's all about: tactical awareness but. You know, I think he's been a bit rash, and I think he's not quite in tune with the English game at this moment in time, and the speed of it. But I know obviously we'll cover the other transfers. Chukwueze, who looks like a future signing, and it's starting to get a little bit of game time for Chelsea. And obviously we've got I can't even remember. It's Slonina, isn't he? He's Inter Milan. Centre mid, as far as I'm aware. He looked like a player that, again, for the future, by a massive, like a player who has massive upside. You know, I just like we've done our scouting on him. And then Zakaria, he's a loan deal, and at time of recording, again, no game time. Yeah. And it looks like he's probably going to go back to Juve. So, but yeah.
I mean, missing off this list is Broja.
Broja was he come back, didn't he, from having a successful spell at Southampton. And I think we thought, I think every Chelsea fan was like, give him a chance. Just give him a chance. And obviously Gallagher as well was the other one. Give him a chance. Give him an opportunity. See what they can do. I think Broja's got potential. He's got a great frame for a striker. Looks like he can do well, but it's just you can do well at Southampton. You can do well at these mid-table or to you know close to the bottom of the league teams and score 10 goals a season and go, oh, he's had a good season in that team. It's different. It's different when you play for a big boy. You have to perform every single game, and if you're not scoring, you have to impact the game. And I think this is where both Gallagher and Broja are struggling a little bit on it. So yeah.
Okay. So they do their business. They snatch away a couple of last bits before the end of the transfer window. Pre-season kind of not the greatest. But then we get into the season. In fact, before I do get into the season, I just want to run down some of the names we haven't mentioned that Chelsea were linked with. Bruno Guimaraes, Nkunku.
Yeah. Well, apparently there's a deal in place that we're going to get Nkunku. He could be one that we get next season. Apparently they're going to release it after the World Cup, and apparently that's done, and it would fit the Chelsea model of young players who are kind of like high at this moment in time and building for the future. So that one is rumours that they've even had a medical and a bid accepted.
Okay. De Ligt.
Yeah, De Ligt was we needed centre halves, but he chose Bayern, and I don't blame him. Bayern's a great club.
Victor Osimhen.
He looks like a force at Napoli, doesn't he? Yeah. I think he'll go for big bucks this summer.
Yeah. And I'm not sure if this was a summer transfer or a more recent one, but Rafael Leao.
Leao is a one now, I think. And there's, again, speculation that he's another one, again, fits the mould, young, and looks like he's going to be an absolute force. And caused Reece James a lot of problems when we played AC Milan at the Bridge and looked like a player that could do stuff. So the players that I think, obviously we know how Barca stole our transfer targets, and all of them were, were kind of, you don't blame them for going Barca, but at the same time, when you know the position they're in, you kind of think yourself, you're running a bit of a risk here by going and joining a team that apparently have no money and can't register players. the weird one for me was Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And the whole Tuchel Bowley fallout over Bowley wants Ronaldo. Tuchel thinks he wouldn't be good for the dressing room, and how it hasn't kind of transpired. And Bowley didn't get his way. And to kind of segue on to the next point, which would be, did that contribute towards Tuchel out? We don't know, but I think it must have at some point.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously, the next situation was, Chelsea start the season. They're not setting the world on fire, but it's so early in the season that you kind of think, well, this has come out of the blue. Like literally, what the hell has happened? That Chelsea look like a team that we ain't expecting them to be struggling, but then Graham Potter gets the job and Tuchel's out. What was your thoughts as all of that happened? And it happened very quickly.
It did. It was a weird one because I think there was obviously an element of. I'm just going to close my door quick. I think there was an element of Chelsea fans were gutted when Tuchel left. We have a person who won us the Champions League, a manager who, for a lot of us, was a great coach, fantastic coach. Tactics were on point, but somehow we couldn't. I don't know what it was. We couldn't put the ball in the net. We couldn't win games, and from the start of the calendar year, we weren't winning games. And we were drawing games that we should have won. We were losing games we should have won, and our form dipped under Tuchel. I think the key thing, like I said earlier, is in that statement of when Tuchel left and every Chelsea fan was gutted, and we appointed Graham Potter, which it's not the worst. It's not the worst manager to come in. He's definitely proven at Brighton, but is he a big club manager? Is he someone who can massage egos? Is he someone that's not going to be afraid to upset someone? Is he someone that we know tactically is going to be good? But there's a difference between Chelsea and Brighton. There's a difference between buying that is something that I feel
Got
like
a bit of sound issue going on, Dave. I don't know if you're aware of it.
I don't know what it was. It just didn't. See, sorry, there we go. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit. We had a bit cut out for a while there. Last 15 seconds,
Sorry.
20 seconds.
Yeah, I was saying how when you look at Potter with Brighton, he didn't have egos there. He can manage the team how he wanted. No one's gonna have that big boy ego. You've now put Aubameyang in at Chelsea, big ego. Sterling, as much as he historically hasn't had an ego, might have an ego coming to Chelsea because he's won a lot, and a lot of the Chelsea players will have egos because they're the best players do have egos. Let's be honest, they do. So now he's got a massage egos. He was at a team at Brighton where what they cared about was buying good quality players and selling them for high profit. Well, you're not doing that at Chelsea. We don't need profit. So you now have to. You're the player. You're the club that's now buying the players for extortionate prices. For where a 30 million pound player goes, a club goes, oh, actually, Chelsea are interested. It's bumping up to 50. Screw it. See if they accept it. And you've got to navigate around that now. So that's the thing. In terms of Tuchel and obviously Potter, they play a very similar way. So I'm happy that we've bought someone who plays very kind of similar. It's almost a bit too similar for me. And that's what I'm finding at the moment with it. We've got a bit better cutting edge in the final third under Potter. but we're still playing the same way, in my opinion, as what Tuchel did. So we replaced a very like for like manager. So what was the point of getting rid of Tuchel?
Mm.
I think that's the thing. Potter will need time to adjust, but I don't know why you go right. We're in a bit of we're having a bit of problems here. We're going to get rid of a manager who looks like he's one of the best coaches in the world. I still think he's one of the best coaches in the world in terms of coaching a team. There's not many that are better than Thomas Tuchel.
Well, you say that, but the table as it stands today, Chelsea played 11, won 6, drawn 3, lost 2. Sitting in 5th place, on the same points as the team in 4th with a game in hand. Win that game, you could potentially be 3rd above Tottenham. So for all the negatives, the positives are Graham Potter's come in. He's done a fantastic job so far. You are still undefeated under him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
and you're sitting in a very good position to potentially, as I said, be in 3rd place if you win your game in hand. Carry that along to your Champions League group, and there you are again, sitting pretty as we sit today, top of the group. With the you just need a point to win the group. You're definitely through to the next stage. You guys are sitting in a position of power. What do you think?
I think the thoughts are, yes, it's going well at this present time in terms of the Champions League. We're through, but you expect us to get through. It's not, if we don't get through, it's a disappointment. If we drop into Europa League, it's a disappointment. And we didn't have a group of death like an Inter, Barca, and Bayern situation where you can make a case for that. So Champions League, we had to get through. And the start that we had, losing to Dynamo Zagreb, I'm glad that we've rebounded and bounced back and top of the and now top of obviously the group and assured to get obviously in the round of 16. In terms of the Premier League, yes, it's going good at the moment. Although there are little things that I'm looking at and I don't know whether I like. Sterling as a wing back. Don't know about that. Not a big fan of Raheem Sterling as a wing back. I know he'll play higher and he won't play like a wing back per se, but I'm not. I don't know if I'm a fan of someone with his pedigree, someone who can go and get you goals and win important penalties doing that job. I mean, yeah, it's going well, but time will tell with Potter. And this is something that he's got to ingratiate himself into this Chelsea culture now, where it's, you can't just settle for a point. You have to go and win games now. You have to. If any points dropped, it's points dropped. There's no minus maybe City away or the games against City away. You have to bring points back. You have to put points on the board, and mostly it's got to be 98% 3 points. There's only a couple that I'll accept a draw against. Maybe Arsenal being one of them at this moment in time. But that's it. So he's got to get that mindset of every game has to be a win.
And I honestly think you've got that mindset with Graham Potter. I think he's established himself very well. I think he's a natural born winner. I mean, he had Brighton playing a form of football that you could only admire with the resources he had. What he was doing at Brighton, you couldn't, you know, I mean, he was up there for manager of the season last year.
Yeah, he tactically we know what he can do, but there's a difference between these players that he's working with now and those and the players that he's working at Brighton. Brighton, you know, he'll walk into the training ground and you can imagine all of them probably like a little group just listening to every word that he says. He's got on it. And sometimes managers have clubs that they're settled with. It happened with Moyes at Everton, settled down. It looks like he's happened, you know, he's got West Ham in that, you know, you know, there are certain clubs that, you know, a manager kind of just suits. I do like Potter. I do like Potter as a replacement for Tuchel. I like the fact he's got
interestingly, guess who you got Saturday at 3:00, Brighton away.
I know, and this is it's going to be interesting because I can imagine a lot of Brighton fans. You can't blame him for taking the Chelsea job. If I'm a Brighton fan looking at it, you can't blame him. And the job that he's done there, I hope he gets a good reception. I just don't hope that they think, oh, he's left us, you know, in a bit of not even turmoil. You know, he sold Cucurella there, and he's gone after. I hope that they actually give him a bit of respect there for the job that he did for them, because Brighton on that budget, to get him where he got them, to play the brand of football that he was playing, they have to respect him, in my opinion. To. If they don't, you know, then they don't know what they're doing. They obviously aren't suited to having a good manager at their club.
Yeah, for sure. So, Dave, we're nearly done. What's your thoughts on Arsenal this season?
See, this is why I don't come on the forum, because there's you, obviously Apollo, Bertram. I know that you lot are smiling each week, and it frustrates me, and it annoys me. So I have to, you know, hide in the shadows until Chelsea are at that point where it's like, yeah, no, I mean, no, I've been busy with a lot of outside, you know, factors, work, etc. So, but I will make an appearance hopefully soon. In terms of what I think about Arsenal, I think you've been terrific. I think your recruitment has been fantastic. I think you have a spine, and you always have to get a spine. That's the thing we've learned in football. That spine is massive. You've got a goalkeeper who is, you know, who suits the way that you play. Who's a fantastic goalkeeper for the age. To a lot of criticism when you signed him as well. You have Saliba. What a player he looks! What a defender he looks. Composed. Looks like an absolute, you know, Rolls Royce of a defender at this present time. You've got Thomas Partey, who looks like he's a rock there. You've got Granit Xhaka, who's just the resurgence and the comeback story is fantastic. Phenomenal. You've got Gabriel Jesus, who just looks like he's up for the scrap every single game. Looks like he's transformed Arsenal. And your two wingers, you know, your Saka, we know what Saka's about. We know he's good, but it looks like he's really taken, you know, he looks like he's stepping up to another level, you know. And Martinelli, we knew he had promise. Could he fulfill that promise? You know, he's definitely showing it. You've got a great spine there. The recruitment's been fantastic. Jesus, Zinchenko, the lot. Now you're flying high, and this is going to really test our Arteta, and it's going to test your squad when you get a few injuries.
Absolutely,
that's it for me. I think you're starting the 11s better than everyone's at this present time. Bar City, if Liverpool butt their ideas up, then bar Liverpool. I think you've probably got, in terms of starting 11 and what you're doing currently, you've probably got the third best team in the league. Second now, because of obviously Liverpool are wetting the bed at the moment. But yeah, you've been really good so far. You've been a joy to watch, and Odegaard's been fantastic. I didn't even mention him. So you got players that I'm not even mentioning.
Yeah, yeah.
Must feel nice.
Well, I mean, I feel good, but I'm worried for a number of reasons. I don't think the squad is big enough. The drop off, like when we play tonight, we're in the Europa League, and we start some of the not regular starters, and immediately you think like that this isn't that type of football that we play when we have our first team out.
Yeah.
And obviously we struggled the last couple of weeks against Leeds. We were lucky to get a win there, and then we had a draw at Southampton where again we weren't quite fully at the races as we were earlier in the season. And maybe because we've got such a small squad, a bit of fatigue comes in. There's not the competition for places that Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea. You guys can give guys a rest if they're not in form, and bring in another player who's really of a high quality. Whereas with Arsenal, if a player drops out of form like Odegaard of late hasn't really been turning it on, there's not another player behind him that you can go, well, he can do the job just as good.
No.
Thomas Partey to me is worldly. He's just, what he does. I don't see there's many midfielders in the country who can do it. There's not many in world football who can do what he does. And for that reason, he's just vital to us as a team.
Yeah.
I
think that's the thing.
I'm quite happy with what I've seen so far. It's just, how long will it last?
I think with you, it is injuries. It's injuries to key players. I think Jesus is one. He can't get injured. You can't get him. He can't get injured. Partey's another. You can't.
Yeah.
He can't get injured or lose him.
Yeah.
I think one of your two centre halves. I know people will say, "Oh, Ben White can do a job centre half, or Tomiyasu can," but I think the pairing of Gabriel and Saliba, you've got your centre half pair in there. I really like both of them. I don't think you can afford to lose one or the other. So, I mean, it's going to come down to can those key players stay fit, and that's you could get injuries through the World Cup.
Absolutely.
Could get injuries through. I mean, it's a long old season this year. It really is. We started.
And if you look at the teams that are dropping out of the Champions League and the Europa League, then that competition becomes really difficult in the new year when we go to that stage of the competition. Dave, I'm going to get you out of here. Before I do, though, I want your top three. Actually, let's go top 6 as how you see the season finishing.
Okay. I think City will win the league. I think, and I know the talk. There's talk of Arsenal. I'm not, I think it would be a massive story if, bearing in mind City, everyone says all City need is a striker, and they go and get the best striker in the world, or arguably the best striker in the world.
Oh, easily.
And Arsenal win the league title. That would be some story, wouldn't it? I think I have to go City to win the league. I think that's the obvious choice. I don't think anyone can kind of complain about that. Then it's tough, and this is the do you believe in Arsenal? That's the question. Do you believe in Arsenal, and do you believe in that squad, and do you believe in Arteta, and do you believe that they're not going to get injuries? I've seen Arsenal lose it time and time again. I've seen
they will again.
I've seen Baku. I've seen at the end of last season with the top 4 race.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
We're not deep enough.
I think second. It's tough, man. It's tough. I will go second. I'll go second Chelsea. I think we'll get our act together. I'll go third Arsenal. And I'll go fourth. I'll go fourth Do I go United?
Oh, what? No Liverpool?
I don't know about Liverpool. You know, I'm not. I tell you what, Liverpool sneak in. Liverpool sneak in like they did when Alisson scored the wonder header.
Unbelievable.
I'll
Unbelievable.
put Liverpool fourth, United fifth, and
Spurs,
oh no,
really?
yeah, Tottenham. Tottenham will have a collapse. Tottenham will collapse.
Wow.
I think Conte, as world class as he is, I think they will collapse at some point. I just don't. Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. Oh, I don't know. It's tough. It's really tough. I need to revise because I think United are playing well. They battered us pillar to post in the first. Yeah, I'm looking at this now. They battered us pillar to post when we played them at Stamford Bridge for about half hour, 35 minutes until we changed it. Yeah, City first. I'll go Chelsea second. I'll go. Yeah, Liverpool outside the top four. No, I'm not having that actually. Yeah, Liverpool ain't making top four. I think they go fifth. I think it fits in with the Klopp theme as well of doing well for whatever it is. You know, I can't for however many seasons. Then he loses the dressing room and loses it, and Mane's a massive loss to them. So yeah, City, Chelsea, Arsenal,
Man United.
Tottenham, Liverpool. Bang, done. That's it. Finished. Done it. That's it. I just see Liverpool. I think they haven't been as good as they have. The players that they've relied on, they can't. Verge is looking like not the centre half that he is. Salah's
Okay.
looking. Salah.
I got to ask a question based on this table, bruv. What has happened to Newcastle that they're not in the top six?
I just think they don't have. I think they've got a good feel factor about them, but I can't put them in top six personally.
Really?
I just
They
don't
just
think
beat Tottenham. They
I know they
just
have.
beat Tottenham.
I know they have. I just don't think they've got as strong of a squad as everyone else. And you know, you don't players like Almiron. Come on, like I mean,
Newcastle have lost one game all season.
I know they have, but I'm not putting them in my top six. I think they will. They will. They're definitely going to slow down. They're going to slow down. I know if you
Come
look at
January, that transfer window opens and they got a lot of money to spend.
I know, but does that unbalance their team as well? You've got players that are solid, like players like Dan. Is it Dan Burn who plays centre half for them? These players that will die on their shield. He's a Geordie as well. Die on their shield for that club. You know, Bruno Gomes looks like a player. Looks like somebody that people are going to go after. I just don't think they're ready for top six yet. I think give them another season and let them spend a bit more money, and we'll see where we're at with them. They're definitely. I have to discount them because the other teams are so strong, and I'm banking on Liverpool turning it around because they can turn it on when they want.
But you've got Liverpool in sixth position. Wow.
I don't, because I think it fits the theme of Klopp, and I think it's underestimating. We're on, underestimating that Mane transfer. The age of that team is the fourth oldest in the league, I believe. They are just not as they. You can see that with that Liverpool side. That Liverpool side previously, I would look and go, I'm scared. I'm scared.
Yeah,
of Liverpool.
absolutely.
I'm not scared of Liverpool now. They're getting injuries. They're Salah's not looking as good as he once was for some reason.
What? That hat trick last week against Rangers? Ooh.
Yeah, but then what else is? Yeah, but it's Rangers. I'm not to disrespect Rangers. I love Rangers. Obviously,
look at the quality of the goals, though. The quality of the goals.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, this is the thing with Liverpool. They can turn up. They've done it with Bournemouth. won
Mm.
9-0.
Yeah.
They can do it with Rangers. They can put a performance in like they have with City, but the consistency is gone. Their consistency's it's gone from that club. Whether it's the appetite,
Wow.
and also remember I think it's fatigue personally. They've got an aging squad and they played every possible game they could have played last year. They played.
Yeah.
They
Absolutely.
they got to finals of the English, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, the
Yeah.
Champions League. Played obviously all the games in the Premier League. Every
Yeah.
game last year they played. They were a
Yeah.
part. So I think it's fatigue with them, and I think maybe it could be desire from that squad now. Maybe
Mm.
that's it. Maybe so. I wouldn't. I'm going to put them sixth. I can't. I'm going to bank on that dynasty's got ended, and they need a
A
reset.
reboot.
Press the reset button almost,
Yeah.
and some get some energetic midfielders into that team. They've still got Henderson and Milner. Like I like myself a bit of Hendo, but he's aging. Milner,
Yeah.
oh, come on, like.
Yeah. Anyway, Dave, it's been a pleasure. Any last thoughts, messages?
I think obviously this may go out. I'm not too sure when it's Chelsea v Arsenal or not or maybe a little bit before that. I think it'd be a tough game. It'd be a tough game with Arsenal. And I know you said, "Oh, it's not been the greatest." I think that you beat us last year. That was the whole Jorginho didn't. He
Yeah.
tried to pass back to Kepa and that happened, and the Van Persie goals. I remember that as well. So you haven't been as bad at Stamford Bridge as as maybe made out to be. I think. I think we will win. I think we will do. We're not scoring goals though, so I think it'll be maybe a 2-1, maybe a 1-0. I think it'll be a close game between us, but I think Chelsea will win. What would be your prediction based upon what we know at present?
I think it really boils down to who you play. I think if you play Aubameyang, we're laughing. I think we'd be so pumped up to beat him if he's on the pitch. I mean, even on the bench, it gives us something to sort of go. He's there. Look at what he's done to us. I'm trying to remember. We did a predictor for last week where we predicted the next 10 games, and I'm pretty certain I didn't pick us for a win at Chelsea.
Maybe a draw. Which
It's
I could
a game
see.
that I thought we'd lose in the next 10, and I think Chelsea was the one. Actually, no, because I know we play City after that. Yeah, it's a strange one. But yeah, I'm gonna go with a draw.
Yeah, which is fair. You've been in form. I
Yeah.
can, you're starting 11 strong.
Yeah,
One
but I
thing
think they're showing some signs of like it not quite being as super as it was when it started. I think there's been a drop off in the last couple of weeks, as I said, with the win at Leeds where we just about got that, and then drawing at Southampton. Hopefully we can get our confidence back this weekend. We played Nottingham Forest at home.
Yeah.
Smashed Zurich all over the place in the midweek, and then be full of confidence when we go to your place.
Yeah. One thing to add, one player that we haven't talked about at all is Kante. I hope he comes back. I hope he comes back stronger than ever. One of the nicest guys in football. And he is, in my opinion, our only world-class player. I say world-class in the sense of if you had aliens come down and go like a Space Jam thing with football, and they go, right, we're gonna play you for the world, for your world. You have to pick 11 of the best players out there. If Kante is at the height of his powers,
Yeah.
he's in that team regardless.
Wow. Big shout. Big shout.
He what Tony, the guy
Yeah.
won us the Champions League and was man of the
Agreed.
match
Yeah.
in every single. Theory is obviously that he might have run his course through injuries and fatigue and just the way he plays.
Yeah.
I hope and I pray that he gets back healthy and we can see him play. And even still, if it's not with Chelsea, it's with someone else, not in the Premier League, obviously, but someone else, and we can actually see him smile and play and smile again, and just because he's a great character for football in general. So I hope he gets fit. I hope we can see him play again, and I hope we can see just N'Golo Kante. That's it.
Excellent. All right, Dave. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Hopefully we will catch up at some point and get a drink down to Harold.
Yes, yeah, it's much needed.
But yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.
See ya. Bye.
Take it easy.